The Ministry of Interior reported this Wednesday on an armed attack against a surface unit of the Border Guard forces in the northeast area of Canalizo El Pino in Cayo Falcones, Corralillo Municipality, Villa Clara Province.
As part of the ongoing investigative process, he points out that it has been established that the neutralized speedboat with Florida registration, it was transporting 10 armed individuals who, according to preliminary statements from the detainees, had intentions of carrying out an infiltration for terrorist purposes.
Assault rifles, short-barreled firearms, improvised explosive devices, Molotov cocktails, bulletproof vests, telescopic sights, and camouflage uniforms were all utilized.
Among the detained participants, based on preliminary interrogations, the following individuals were identified: Amigail Sánchez González, Liordan Enrique Cruz Gómez, Conrado Galindo Sarriol, José Manuel Rodríguez Castelló, Cristian Ernesto Acosta Guevara, and Roberto Ascora Consuegra.
Among the deceased, Miquel Ortega Casanova has been identified. Work is being done on the identification of the other three.
All participants are Cuban nationals residing in the United States, most of whom have a known history of criminal and violent activities, including Amigail Sánchez González and Liordan Enrique Cruz Gómez, who appear on the national list of persons and entities that, by virtue of the resolution, UN Security Council Resolutions 1373, international law, and the Cuban legal system, have undergone criminal investigations. And they are being sought by the Cuban authorities due to their involvement in the promotion, planning, organization, financing, support, or the commission of actions carried out within the national territory or in other countries in connection with acts of terrorism.
Additionally, the arrest was carried out within the national territory of citizen Daniel Hernandez Santos, who had been sent from the United States to ensure the reception of the armed infiltration and who is currently confessing to his actions.
The investigative process continues until the complete clarification of the events. The note is signed by the Ministry of Interior.
Cuba killed 4 people on board a U.S.-registered speedboat off the northern coast of the country on Tuesday morning. Havana said 6 others were injured in the incident, which took place after a confrontation between Cuban forces and the crew of the vessel erupted. The Cuban Ministry of Interior said that U.S. boat had entered Cuban territorial waters, and the people on board opened fire when officers moved in to check the boat. The firing also injured a Cuban commander, the ministry said. According to the ministry's statement, the speedboat, registered in Florida under number FL7726SH, was detected near the El Pino Channel in Cayo Falcones, part of Villa Clara Province. A patrol unit from the Border Guard troops, carrying 5 service members, moved to intercept the boat after it came within about 1 nautical mile of the coast. After the gunfight, the wounded were evacuated and given medical treatment. Cuba described those killed as aggressors, but did not release identities or nationalities. The Cuban Interior Ministry also said investigations were ongoing to clarify the circumstances surrounding the incident. Havana further reaffirmed its determination to defend territorial waters, saying national defense remains a core state priority to safeguard sovereignty and regional stability.
An unauthorized speedboat was detected operating within Cuban territorial waters. This vessel, registered in Florida, United States, bore the identification number FL7726SH and was observed approaching to within 1 nautical mile of the coast. to the northeast of the channel known as El Pino, which is situated in Cayo Falcones within the Coralillo municipality in Villa Clara province. From the infringing vessel, shots were fired upon the Cuban forces, Pos, Umtamda, Tenfan, Pomsa, and Doos, which resulted in the commander of the Cuban boat sustaining injuries. As a consequence of the confrontation, up to the time of these reports closing, on the foreign side, 4 aggressors were killed and 6 were injured, who were subsequently evacuated and received medical assistance. In the face of the current challenges, Cuba emphatically reaffirms its unwavering commitment to protect its territorial waters, based on the profound understanding that national defense is a truly fundamental pillar for the Cuban state, all in favor of safeguarding its sovereignty and ensuring the stability of the entire region.
The U.S. is keeping a close watch. Florida's Attorney General James Uthmire ordered an investigation, saying Cubans cannot be trusted. Vice President J.D. Vance said, hopefully the shooting is not serious. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio issued a warning. He threatens Havana with appropriate response if the victims are Americans.
And secondly, if you could tell us anything you know about the situation off the coast of Cuba, where there's a speedboat shot. We've been briefed on that. You know, if Americans were killed or injured in it.
Yeah, so on the second thing, actually, Marco briefed me about 15 minutes ago on it, but we don't know a whole lot of details, and so I'll defer to the White House to provide more updates as we get them. Certainly, you know, a situation that we're monitoring. Hopefully, it's not as bad as we fear it could be, but can't say more because I just don't know more.
So this morning, we were made aware by Cuban authorities of an incident off the coast of Cuba. We immediately began to look into it. As it stands now, the Department of Homeland Security, the Coast Guard, others are involved. The majority of the information we still possess is what Cuban authorities are providing both the public and the U.S. government. We have our embassy on the ground in Havana working this as we speak, asking for access to the people that were on those vessels, if they were American citizens or permanent residents. According to the Cuban regime, that the boat was registered in Florida. We're tracking that down. We will know shortly, and we will know quickly, many more facts about this incident than we know right now. The majority of the facts being publicly reported are those by the information provided by the Cubans. We will verify that independently, and as we gather more information, then we'll be prepared to respond accordingly. I'm not going to speculate, because I'm not going to opine on what I don't yet know, but we're going to find out exactly what happened here, and then we'll respond accordingly. Okay? Any questions?
Have you been in touch with anyone in Cuba? And I mean, what's your...
Well, the authorities in Cuba, the border guard has constant contact with the Coast Guard, so they alerted them this morning. I was made aware of it at that time. Oftentimes in these incidents and things like this, the initial reports are incomplete, and then as the day has progressed, I think early this morning, certainly by 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. this time, maybe a little later our time here, I reached out and we began to look at it independently. We have various different elements of the U.S. government that are trying to verify elements of the story based on what's been provided to us now. I know that the Coast Guard has responded to the area, to the vicinity. I'll need to get more fidelity and understanding from them once I get on the airplane about what exactly they're looking for. I don't know who has possession of the vessel, which is the first thing we would want to have. We obviously want to have access to these people if they are American citizens or U.S. residents.
Have you spoken to any Cuban officials about this?
No, we haven't spoken directly about this now. No, I'm not going to comment about any conversations we've had on this topic. Suffice it to say, what it's important to be out there and everyone needs to know is that we're going to have our own information on this, and we're going to figure out exactly what happened. And there are a number of things that could have happened here. But I'm not even going to speculate as to what it could have been. It's a wide range of things. But suffice it to say, it is highly unusual to see shootouts in open sea like that. It's not something that happens every day. It's something, frankly, that hasn't happened with Cuba in a very long time. But we're going to find out. We're not going to base our conclusions on what they've told us. And I'm very, very confident that we will know the full story of what happened here, and we will know it soon. And then, we'll respond appropriately based on what that information tells us. Cuba needs to change. It needs to change dramatically because it is the only chance that it has to improve the quality of life for its people and not lose 15% of its population since 2021. 15% of the people of Cuba have left since 2021. That is not a system that's working. That's a system that's in collapse, and they need to make dramatic reforms. And if they want to make those dramatic reforms that open the space for both economic and eventually political freedom for the people of Cuba, obviously the United States would love to see that and would be helpful. If they decide they're going to dig in and just continue forward, then I think they're going to continue to experience failure, and the people of the country are going to continue to suffer, and it'll be, you know, the regime's fault.
What the Cuban people should know is this, that if they are hungry and they are suffering, it's not because we're not prepared to help them. We are. It's that the people standing in the way of us helping them is their Communist Party. That's who's standing in the way. If they move out of the way, we're more than happy to work with individual Cubans so they can have an opportunity to feed their families and build their economy. But we are not the impediment. They are.
The incident comes amid heightened tensions between both the nations after President Trump imposed an oil blockade on the communist-ruled nation.